My name's Chad Peters. I'm the part sales manager for Rihm Kenworth. Today I have Troy Powers joining me. Troy, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself quick?
Hello everyone, Troy Powers, Director of Parts, Rihm Kenworth. Thanks for attending tonight.
And then Brian from RevHD. Brian, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself quick?
Sure thing. I'm Brian Beathard with RevHD. Been with RevHD for about 6 years. Prior to that, I was with Stemco for around 11 years. I want to thank Rihm Kenworth for having this webinar this evening and for inviting us to participate. Our products are now in all of their locations. We've been kicking that off with a sales blitz, doing field work with their outside salesmen. They also put together this webinar so we could reach a few more customers and let them know about this new product that you can buy at Rihm Kenworth.
So Troy and I have been part of a team. There's a few of us working on trying to bring some of these webinars to you guys tonight. We're still living in the COVID world, so this is a tool that we can use to hopefully get some information out to you guys where we can't always be in front of you. So hopefully they're beneficial. Tonight, like we said, we're joined by RevHD. RevHD is a seal manufacturer that is really changing a couple things in the sealed world. A few design improvements over competition. So Brian, go ahead and take it away and let us know about those changes.
Okay. Well, thank you, Chad, and thank you again, Troy, and thank you to Rihm Kenworth once again for allowing us to be here and conduct this webinar. I'm going to share my screen now, and there'll be a few slides here that will allow me to talk about some of the elements that, as Chad mentioned, are unique to our wheel seal, some things that the folks at RevHD were able to do to try to take a different spin, if you would, on a product that's been around for a long time. You know, RevHD has been around for about 6 years, but it has an old soul. The guys who started the company all came from the seal industry. Most of them came from Stemco. A couple of key folks, though, came from National, and here recently we even brought on an SKF lead engineer from SKF. So we've got quite a few seal-minded folks that have probably made the seal that you use now, but came on board to make this seal hopefully a little better, a little easier to install, a little better warranty, and just a little more user-friendly, both in the installation process and going down the road. So I'll go ahead and kick this off with, we're going to go through 12 reasons that we think RevHD is different from the other guys, reasons why you might want to partner and put us in your shop as opposed to the seal that you're using primarily now. Some of these are big, some of them are small. We'll try to go over all 12, but we'll spend a little more time on those that I think are game changers. One of those game changers is the fact that you do not need a tool for our wheel seal. And that's not because it's made to be pushed in necessarily. It's because the whole seal itself is built to be as strong as a tool, as strong as a seal installation tool. The top plate of our seal is nearly 1/8 of an inch thick of solid steel. Now, if you can think about that, and when you hold our seal, you can feel the difference. It's almost twice the weight of a standard seal. We've got more material throughout the seal, but most of that extra weight is coming from that top plate, which is intended not only to protect the seal when it's going down the road or off-road. For example, if it's in a rock quarry or a logging situation or maybe in a landfill, but to also protect it from heat from the brakes, but then to get the fringe benefit of you being able to install this seal literally with a hammer, a block of wood, a piece of metal, even the heel of your boot. I tell guys, use anything that's flat and clean. Now, one irony to that is that you really don't want to use somebody else's tool to install our seal. That's not unique to us. You don't want to use, for example, a National tool to install a Stemco seal. You never want to use a Stemco tool to install a National or SKF seal. Our seal will actually hold up a little better, but it's still recommended that you do not use another manufacturer's tool unless you flip the plate over. Some of these tools you can flip the plates over, some of them you can't. Most of them you can, and if you flip the tool plate over to the flat side, you've kind of created a universal tool, and that would be fine to use on our seal or any other seal for that matter. Bottom line is 1/8 of an inch of solid steel, you're not likely to hurt it. So you don't have to handle it with kid gloves. You don't have to listen for that change of pitch and worry about, oh geez, did I hit it one time too many? I tell guys, when you hear that change of pitch, go ahead and give it a few more whacks. Now, if it's an older hub and it's a warm day, and you use some of the included seal bond that I'll talk about in a moment, a lot of times you can push ours in by hand. We didn't shrink the seal to make it what I would refer to as a true hand-installed seal. But many of you guys out there using National and Stemco would probably come across hubs where you could put the seal in by hand, particularly if you put some weight and some oomph behind it. That's fine. The stuff I'm going to show you in a minute will actually help with those worn hubs. Again, the bottom line is more user-friendly in the install. You can basically hit it with anything you want, as hard as you want, and you're not going to mess it up. The second thing we do that's unique is our warranty. First of all, our warranty is no questions asked. Now, when I worked at Stemco, I know they declined a lot of warranties. We never decline a warranty. It doesn't matter if you tell us you put the wrong seal in backwards. The idea there is we've hopefully made a seal that is installation error proof. And if we're going to put our money where our mouth is, then we can't very well decline a warranty because you installed it wrong. So we, again, attempted to make a seal that was installation error proof, human error proof. And for that reason, we back that with a warranty that is no questions asked. If your shop technicians take our free online training class, and this, by the way, guys, is free even if you don't end up buying my seal or at least trying it out. This is a class that's free to anyone, and it really is a great will-in class. I'll talk about it more in a little bit, but it's free, it's 30 minutes long, and I actually encourage anyone to take it. If you're buying my seal and you take the class, then whichever seal you go with, the 1-year warranty seal or the 3-year warranty seal, both of those warranties would then include your brakes. If my seal leaks during its warranty period, I buy your next brake kit. Any brake kit you want, as long as it's a brake kit that Rihm Kenworth is currently stocking. This third one is probably my personal favorite, and it's hard to illustrate in a PowerPoint presentation. If your screen is allowing it, you hopefully are seeing a GIF or a little video here that shows the movability of our seal. If it's okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen for a moment so I can show you this kind of firsthand. Assuming you guys all have your settings where you can see my face now as the majority of the screen. And if not, I think there's a button where you can do that on your screen. I'm going to hold this seal up to the screen, up to the camera, to kind of show you what that video was illustrating. Because again, this is my favorite part of the seal. As this seal seals vertically, as it's going down the road, or as you're installing it onto the spindle, or as you're installing it into the hub, this seal has what we call the flex design. It's about 1/8 of an inch of forgiveness, 1/8 of an inch of insurance, and however it's needed. For example, a cock seal. This would remedy failures caused by cock seals, which is actually the #1 leading cause of seal failure. You can also have seals that go off-road or go into different terrain or bearing adjustments that loosen up on you. And this seal can actually move with the terrain and flex with different things that they might hit going down the road or off-road. For example, over the road, you know, there's drivers that can hit curbs and potholes like they're aiming for them. This can help out with that as well. It is my favorite part of the seal. It's 1/8 of an inch of insurance, and to me, that's one of, if not the best game changer that I think these guys were able to come up with when they developed this seal. This is unique, and probably another game changer. This tube comes in every box. The biggest question we get is, do I have to use it? And the answer is no, you don't have to use it, but obviously we're putting it in the box because we recommend it. We think there's a value in it, and it's unique stuff. We've got a patent pending on it. The way it works is you put a nice bead around the OD of the seal and smear it around with your fingers before you install it. A lot of guys will use the lube that's in the hub. what you would do here is, in place of that, use the stuff that comes in this tube. And then take what's left in the tube and put a nice bead around the spindle shoulder. Smear that around with your fingers. That way, when you dock the hub, a nice coating gets on the ID of the seal. And then what happens in about 20 minutes after it's applied is it makes the rubber on our seal swell or expand, and pretty significantly, enough to not only fill in older worn hubs and spindle shoulders, but to actually fill in pretty deep pit and spall marks and even chisel marks. A lot of times if you have a chisel mark on a shoulder, a person will opt for a two-piece seal. And they'll use silicone or Permatex, and they'll use that to kind of mask or repair a bad shoulder. Our testing has shown that our seal actually does better than a two-piece seal when you use this formula that comes in the box on a spindle shoulder that is in bad shape. And again, that could be worn all the way around. It could be pit and spall marks, or it could be chisel marks. So it's great stuff. You don't have to use it, but again, we recommend it. Even on a brand new spindle and a brand new hub, it's just going to give you even more of a tighter fit. The seal, and when I held it up to the camera, maybe you could tell it's just bigger. It's a brick. It's bigger. It's heavier. It doesn't protrude out of the hub any further than any other seal. We just simply use all the real estate. So all the real estate that is usable on both the hub bore and the spindle shoulder, that's our ID and OD profile. We're going to use all of it. Now, one caveat to that, or one thing you want to watch out for if you're trying our seal for the first time, sometimes, particularly if a fleet has been using one seal for a long time, I'll find that a technician may be in the habit of just cleaning the shoulder where the old seal was riding. In other words, they remove the hub, they see that spot that's relatively clean where the old seal was, and they'll focus on that spot and they'll clean it, brush it up, maybe even use some emery cloth on it, but they won't clean any further back. If you do that and you put another seal on that's wider, thicker at the ID, one that covers more real estate on the hub bore, you can damage our seal. So this is one of those things where a good thing can be a bad thing if you don't clean the shoulder all the way back. So when you do try our seals out, and hopefully you will, just be cognizant of that. We're going to grab more surface area of the shoulder, but that also means you need to clean the entire shoulder. Most technicians do that already, but there are a few out there who may have gotten in a habit of cleaning where their old seal was riding. Just remember, with ours, you want to clean the whole shoulder. Our part numbering system, granted this is a smaller reason to switch to RevHD, but I think it's worth mentioning. I think it goes to the minds of the guys who created this company, wanting to try to hit on everything that would make your life easier, make you less likely to have the wrong seal, order the wrong seal, or try to install the wrong seal. Instead of just an arbitrary set of letters and numbers, our part numbering system actually tells you the application: S for steer, D for drive, T for trailer. Makes that pretty simple. Beyond that, we take the extra step, and below our part number, we put the interchange or the cross-reference for that particular application. So if your shop has been using National or Stemco and your technicians have those numbers memorized, they can continue to go over to the shelf, look for the number they've always grabbed in the past, grab that number and know they have the right seal. Most fleets today and repair shops will stock 3 seals, maybe 4. And for us, those typically are the SO1, the DO2, and the TO3. If they have some trailers that have the parallel spindle, sometimes referred to as the Propar or Fruhoff spindle, then they may opt to stock the TO4. But whichever ones you end up stocking, it's nice to just be able to look for the S, the D, or the T, and know right away that you have the right seal, and to be able to cross-check that with a nice interchange that we provide for you below the number. Another item that's a little bit on the small side, I don't know that a fleet would actually switch over just for this. I think I do recall calling on one that said they were, but this is one of those things that if you need it, it's very helpful. So some of you may have already come across in the trailer side a new lube, sometimes called semi-fluid grease, sometimes referred to as synthetic grease. Same stuff, just two different names. Most new trailers are coming with it. You can opt to go back with it. You can actually put it in an older trailer. In fact, that's really where it shines. It's a hybrid between the old days of hard pack grease and what more people use today, which is oil or some sort of synthetic oil, where you just fill the belly up. With this, you want to fill the hub up halfway. And that's easier said than done, because there's a viscosity to this semi-fluid grease that's closer to oil than grease. So you can imagine if you're trying to fill a hub up that's already docked on the spindle to the halfway mark, most of it is going to waterfall out onto you and onto the floor before you get it to the halfway mark, much less drop the pump and grab that outer bearing and shove it in before it all comes out. So pretty clever. They mark the back of the box dependent upon the spindle that seal would go on. So in other words, when you order a seal from Rihm Kenworth or RevHD, when you get that seal, the back is going to be marked for that spindle that seal goes on, in such a pattern that if you cut the half circle out, the back of the box marries up to the spindle like a glove and stops at the OE spec fill level for semi-fluid grease on that hub. Moreover, our box is thicker, stronger. We did that on purpose so that it actually holds the grease in place, and it'll hold the grease until you're ready to insert that outer bearing. When you're ready to insert the outer bearing, you just push the bearing in as you pull the cardboard out of the way, kind of simultaneously, in one fell swoop, and you'll have little to no mess on the floor, and you'll know all your guys are getting the perfect amount in every time. Simple but clever and unique to RevHD. Our packaging, we actually seal our seals, as funny as that is to say. This would be more for the guys, and I know some of you out there have some seals that have been on the shelf since the Reagan administration. Rubber tends to dry rot, depending on the climate that you're stocking your seals or storing your seals in, the humidity. Some people keep their seals right in the shop, and I've seen them dry rot in as early as 2 years. Of course, hopefully you're using the seals before the 2-year mark, but if you ever run into a case where you're overstocked, or you've got a seal that you need, but you only need it on occasion. You want to have it for that occasion, but you know it'll be hit or miss when those occasions occur. That seal may sit there for a while. We seal our seals in plastic, giving them a shelf life of well over 12 years. Also keeps dirt and debris from egressing into the box and into the seal. You'd be surprised how often that can happen and cause a premature seal failure, where either dirt got in or the rubber was compromised because it set in a condition where it began to dry rot. Our box tops are worth money. Some guys collect them, some guys don't, but I'm always encouraging people to collect them and take advantage of it. There's nothing that you have to do through Rihm. You just simply peel off that box top and throw it in a drawer or a shoebox. And when you've collected enough that you're ready to cash them in, you log on to our website, you go to the box top tab, and you pick out whatever goodies you want. We've got some torque wrenches, sockets, wheel-in related tools, as well as hats and jackets. We pay for the shipping. We ship it to you free of charge. You just send us the box tops with your order form, and then we send you the items that you've ordered. Kind of a nice way to say thank you, and a nice way that you can get some tools and some swag for the guys in your shop. Our pricing is unique, and pricing here in Minnesota is also unique, we're finding. Here, I'll just simply say that our seal is the same price, no matter what application you order from Rihm. Now, again, we do have two different seals. We've got the Rev Max, which is our premium seal with the HNBR laydown lip, similar to a National 38,000 series seal. And we have the Rev 1, which would be more in line with a 37,000 series national seal or a Stemco Voyager. That has a 1-year warranty. Whichever one you go with, what I think you'll appreciate is the drive, the steer, the trailer, your popular ones, as well as your unpopular seals that you don't find yourself needing that often. They're all the same price. Increase the price of the drive. Some of those rare seals, we same price, and generally find that they're a fair price, or maybe even, especially on a drive seal, saving you some dollars. Obviously, Rihm Kenworth is going to be quoting you on the price, but at the end of this, my hope is that you're getting a better seal, and you're also feeling like you're getting a fair price when you pay for the seal. And I think working with Rihm Kenworth, you'll find both of those to be the case. This is something we offer that a lot of guys will take us up on. I know if any of you guys are coming from the Coon Rapids location, Greg really kind of leaned towards this offering and has been presenting it to many of his customers. Some people call it a lift, some people call it a conversion. Up to 12 seals, we will swap you out free of charge, 1 for 1. So this is a nice way that you can try us out. If you've got some seals on the shelf, again, where you're overstocked, or maybe you've got seals that went on a particular truck or trailer that you don't have anymore, and they're just sitting there as wasted stock. We can swap those out as long as they're still in relatively good resellable condition, and as long as they're Stemco, National, or SKF. We'll swap them out 1 for 1, and obviously you don't have to get the same thing back. So if you're swapping out maybe some steer seals because you feel like you have too many of them, we can swap you for trailer or drive. Again, all our seals are the same price. So you can mix and match and clean up your inventory, which is nice, and get an opportunity to give us a good spin, a good try. And the 6 years that I've been with RevHD, I'm unaware of anyone who has ever tried us out and then went back to their old seal, which if you think about it is quite a statement. And that's not to say the other seals are bad. You know, Stemco, I worked for them 11 years, National, SKF. These companies have been around for a long time because they do make a good quality product. These guys just got together and thought outside the box, so to speak, and came up with something a little stronger, a little easier to install, with a little better warranty to boot. And that pretty much brings us to the end of who we are. And I've kind of mentioned that throughout this presentation. These guys all come from the seal industry. They knew they had ideas to make seals last longer, work better, make seals that were easier to install. Somewhat out of frustration of not being able to see those ideas realized with their current companies, they left, formed RevHD in 2014, and never looked back. Again, I think if you are able to hold this seal in your hand, just by holding it, you'll be able to tell a big difference. I think if you try it, you'll really see the difference. And when you try us out, I always tell guys, put us on your worst piece of equipment. If you've got one of those anomalies, one of those headaches that's just constantly giving you seal issues, that's where I want you to put our seal, because that's where you'll really see the benefit, and that's where you'll see some of the features that I've shown you really shine. I'll leave it with that, and I'll keep this comparison chart on the screen that kind of compares us to some of the other brands that are out there. And I'll take any questions. If you want to use your chat box to send those in to either Troy or Chad, and they'll read them to me, or Troy and Chad, you may already have some questions that you've thought of on behalf of your customers that you'd like to ask at this time.
Yeah, I know there was a couple that came through, and if you guys, you should be able to unmute yourself too if you want to ask a question. Or like you said, if you click on the Q&A box at the bottom, you can type one in. One question I came across is, when you put that lube on the seal and you drive it in, how tight does it actually get in that hub? Is it hard to get out 3 years down the road, or is it fairly normal at that point?
It is a little harder to get ours out. Of course, every situation is a little different. Brand new hub versus a worn hub. An ice cold Minnesota day versus where I'm from in Tennessee, a warm sunny day. In general, guys who have a seal removing tool, which you can buy online, will tell me they can't tell the difference at all when they remove our seal versus their old seal. Guys who are using some sort of a crowbar or a big flathead screwdriver will tell me it takes a little more elbow grease, but nothing that leaves you pulling your hair out and cussing. Just a couple of extra ohms to pop ours out. The stuff that comes in the box is not an adhesive. So unlike silicone, it's not adhering metal to metal. It's simply making the rubber swell. Once you get that rubber to start bending, then it usually pops out fairly easily.
And then on your hubcaps, do you guys offer a cross reference for those?
We don't have a cross reference per se. I have been running that up the flagpole. I can tell you that the last 4 digits of our hubcap match the Stemco last 4 digits. So that in and of itself, I believe they were hoping would be the cross reference. So we have the RH-4009. That's the lion's share of the hubcap market. As you guys know, the 4009 fits your standard TP axle trailer. We also have the PSI version of that. We call that one the 4009 PSI. And then we've got the 4024, which is your most common steer, and the 4195, which fits that larger trailer spindle that is a straight spindle, a parallel spindle. Again, sometimes referred to as the Propar or Fruhoff spindle.
I had another question come in, Brian. Customer is asking how the seals put up with the extra heat that are produced by the air disc brakes.
Yes, another great question. I'll answer that in 2 ways. One verbally, and then I'll ask you to go to our website where you can see a picture that will raise your eyebrows. So the metal steel plate that we put on the top of the seal, again, at first glance, that means no tool when you install the seal, and that in of itself is a great benefit. The other thing that allowed us to do was have the only warranty that covers off-road. So again, rock and debris and logging and going into refuge situations. The third thing it did is it provides an incredible barrier to heat coming off the brakes, either drum or air disc. But you don't have to take my word for it. On our website is a testimonial tab. And I believe they've highlighted this one up close to the top because it's such an eye-catching picture, where one of our customers sent us a picture of air disc brakes that got so hot they were glowing red. And he sent us the picture with the caption saying, "Your seal is still running fine." That, I think, surprised us even. And I think goes to show that where seals are susceptible from heat off of brakes, the fact that they took what is normally the most vulnerable part of a seal, which is ironic when you think about it, because it's the part you're using to knock the seal in. It's the part that's exposed to the elements. And as this question points to, it's the part that's exposed to the heat off the brakes. Instead of being the weakest part of the seal, with RevHD, it's the strongest part of the seal. Again, almost 1/8 of an inch of solid steel. And that does provide a tremendous amount of protection from heat coming off the brakes.
The only other question that I fielded was, where are your products made? Are they all made in the US or some imported?
So, great question. When these guys got started, they took their savings. They weren't rich men, and they had enough to set up and establish manufacturing in Taiwan. Our tooling and our people, which I think is important, but in Taiwan. Their promise and commitment was that as we grow, and it's one of those things you have to walk before you run, we would start bringing that production into the United States with a goal of one day being 100% US made. Today, we're about at the 30% mark. So we started out with 0. Now 30% of our components are made in the US. Our goal is by 2028 to be 100% American made. What I generally tell guys is this: where everybody else that you buy from manufacturing wise seems to be trying to get out of Dodge, we're trying to get in. But as many of you probably know or could speculate, it is expensive to establish manufacturing in the US. As we grow and we're capable of doing it, we're doing it. And I think you'll find in a relatively short period of time, we'll have that made in USA flag on all our components. But right now you'll find it on maybe 30% of our components. It is hard anymore to find anyone who's 100% American made. You know, even Timken is making half of their bearings now overseas. It does seem to be the trend that everybody is going offshore, even in spite of the current penalties that could be put on a company for importing. But we're determined to do it, and I know we're going to get there slowly but surely.
Great info. I think we have one question. Randy, did you have a question by chance?
Yeah, I was wondering, how does the seal handle for the spindle wear under the bearing when the bearing, wears into the spindle, so it actually raises the hub up on the bottom edge of the seal?
Yeah, great question. That question tells me that you know a lot about wheel ends.
Yep.
When you have a problem child, a wheel end that is constantly giving you seal grief, a lot of times I'll go ahead when I field that call and I'll go ahead and ask that technician to reach underneath the spindle, see if they can feel a flat spot right at the base of the shoulder. If you can feel it, it's too much. Even if they can't feel it, I'll sometimes ask them to get a micrometer or a set of calipers, measure from 12 and 6 o'clock, take another measurement from 9 and 3 o'clock. If the difference between those two measurements is greater than 6 thousandths, no seal is going to be able to prevent that from leaking, including ours. We'll do better than others, but if you get to the point where you can feel it, unfortunately, that's a costly fix, whereby getting an axle surgeon out or getting a brand new axle is going to be the only thing that's going to permanently solve that issue. So yeah, I don't want to make our seal sound like it's totally bulletproof. You're presenting a question there that is an environment where all seals are going to struggle.
Yep. So that's what I was kind of wondering, how much tolerance you have up and down what you just answered is 6,000. So
yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you.
You got the farmers that don't want to repair stuff like that.
Yeah. You can go to grease and that'll mask it for a while. And of course, this semi-fluid grease that I mentioned earlier can be a hybrid in between the two. So if you're using oil and you've got that situation and your boss doesn't want to pay the money to fix it, you might try semi-fluid grease. If that doesn't work, you might go all the way up to hard pack grease.
Yep. Sounds good.
And our seal can be used with all three. I get asked that a lot. There was a time, a long time ago, where you had oil bath seals and you had grease seals. Those days are pretty much over with any brand seal. They're almost all made now to work with all of the lubes that you find in North America.
How does it handle up to the chloride and stuff?
The salts and such, that I'd have to get back to you on. I don't have any data on that. I know we've had customers in the salt belt for going on 6 years now, and we're not seeing complaints or warranties come back. So I've got to believe that we're holding up at least as good as the other guys. But that's one that I don't have any raw data to share with you on. I apologize.
That's all right. That and the chloride, a lot of chloride they put on the roads up here.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's rough on all the components.
Yep. So sounds good. I appreciate it.
If I've got just a second, Troy, I didn't talk about the hubcap. Do you want me to show it real quick, or?
You know what? It's fine with me. I mean, we try to get these things done in 30, 35, 40 minutes. If people want to jump off, they can. But if you'd like to hear about the hubcaps.
All right, I'll keep it under 2 minutes. And again, like Troy said, if you guys need to go and want to drop off, please feel free to do so. This is our hubcap. We've had it for about a year. Like our seal, it's heavier. You put it in your hands and you can tell the difference. It's thicker, it's heavier, more material, more substantive than a standard hubcap. The two biggest selling features are the spokes, which crisscross and protect the lens. I mean, guys, you can hit this thing with a hammer and you're not going to bust that lens. In fact, if you crack the lens, we'll give you a free hubcap. That's how sure we are that it's not going to happen unless you're trying to do it maliciously. We've thrown chains at it, like off a flatbed. We've hit it with steel toe boots. Ironically, usually when a lens cracks, it's just a guy doing what he's supposed to do. He fills the lube, the oil, and between the add and full lines, he pops that plug in with his the ball of his hand. And on a cold day especially, he hears that lens crack, and then the anger sets in. That's not going to happen with this one. The coolest thing, though, of all, and you see it down there at the bottom, every hubcap comes with all the bolts, but one of the bolts is a unique bolt that we call the temp bolt, and it monitors the temperature of your hub. So this is the only hubcap you can buy that comes with a mechanism that will alert you if the temperature of your hub gets above 250 degrees, which can save a lot of liability and problems with spindles getting so hot that they're heat scorched, or God forbid, a wheel off. The red part pops out if it reaches 250 degrees, and it stays popped out. You're looking at a trailer that's set overnight. The wheel end is cool to the touch. But if that red part on that temp bolt is popped out, you know that that wheel end needs your attention. It's not a maybe. At 250 degrees, it's not a summer day in Arizona. It is something going on that is getting to the danger and deserves your attention. Could be water in the lube, could be a lack of lube, could be the bearings have gotten old and they're starting to lock up. Could be a number of things, but whatever it is, when that's popped out, it's could be saving you or somebody's life.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much, Brian. Appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Please watch for more of these upcoming events. We're trying to hold one a month. If there's anything you'd like to see changed, format-wise, or a vendor you would really like to see, please let us know. We'll try to get that set up. Troy, anything to add?
No, I don't have anything. Again, thanks everybody for joining these. I think we're getting a little better than we were in our first one, so hopefully we'll keep improving. And if there's anything anybody would like to see, please let us know. We certainly want to be able to provide what you'd like to see more of. So, yeah, thanks everyone.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you, guys.